Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's tutorial, we're going to create a simple project that is going to make use of optical character recognition. So in the last tutorial, we have made a simple tutorial explaining optical character recognition using Tessaract, right, and the Tessaract library. So we're going to use that, build on that, and build a simple website whereby you can drop in an image. In the image, it's going to detect the characters and then decode recognize those characters and then convert those characters into an actual text, and then from an actual text, right? And then from an actual text you can translate it into different languages and then obtain audio files for those languages. So let me just explain to you just in a basic what I mean. Okay, let me just press on text this. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to find an image file. So I'm going to go into my desktop and I have a folder called media content, and in here I can just simply drop this image here. So I'm going to drop this image, and this image is a Swahili. Let me just open up the image so you can see the content of that image. So that image is just an image of a Swahili word, so Swahili phrase. So Swahili phrase, it says that Rafiki Bora. So Rafiki Bora in Swahili means that a good friend, okay, or a best friend or something similar to that. So you can see that it identified the characters in this image, and it kept the characters inside of this form, right? So we can translate this into multiple languages. Okay, let's go ahead and translate this into English and see what this means in English. So Rafiki Bora in Swahili, what does it mean in English? So let me just select here English is somewhere around here. Let me just find here English. So let me just hit on the translate button. This is going to translate this into English, and once it's done you can still get best friend, right? And you can also it brings also for you this audio file that you can listen to and to get the text. Okay,
best friends.
So now you can see even the audio file is playing properly and is saying the content of that of the text right here, which is best friend. So you can translate this into multiple languages. Let's translate this into Spanish, and let's see what it means in Spanish. Okay, I don't speak Spanish, but if you're a Spanish guy and you're following along with this tutorial, then you can relate to you can let us know in the comment section below whether the translation was correct or not. Yeah, say something majoros, amigos. Okay, so you can also have the audio file right here. The audio file plays automatically, but since I'm in recording mode, it doesn't play that sound. Okay, so I'm going to attach this later on, so after recording this video, so you guys can listen to that audio file. So that's how basically it works. So we have the different texts that you can translate into different languages and then obtain the text for that. So you can also update this and do that. So let's go ahead and try this one more time. Let's try to change another image into text. Okay, so I have this image which is from the famous book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and in my video for optical character recognition we have something very similar to this. So you can see that it identifies all the text inside of the image. So right, let me just go ahead and open this image up so that you guys can see the content of that image. So let me just minimize this for now, put this aside, and you can see this the image right here. So you can compare the image with what we have there. So 8 lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then it has 8 lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad. Have a clear purpose in mind. You can see it relates to whatever we have here, right? So it does the translation for us automatically, and then I can just translate this into the language that I want. So let me say that I want to translate this into English because already in English, so I'm just going to get an audio file for that. So if I translate it into English, and I hit on the translate button, this is going to go ahead and do the translation for us, and then after that we'll just get the video, the audio file for that translation. So you can see the translation right here and it's playing in the background. So I'm going to attach this to so you guys can listen to the audio because I'm in recording mode, and as I said, I can play the audio, so it works. Trust me. I'm going to add the audio file after recording the video. Okay. And if you're new to the channel, I don't have good equipment to recording these videos. So one way you can support the channel is by dropping a liking this video, subscribing to the YouTube channel, so that in the future I can get better equipment and make better video for you guys. Okay, so kindly go ahead and show a sign of support. The link you can go ahead and actually subscribe to the YouTube channel. Okay, that's the best way you can support me. Okay, so once you have that, you can translate this into any language you want. Let's say we want to translate this into Chinese. Okay, so if I just click on translate, it's going to go ahead and do the translation. You can see we have this pop-up tells us which the file uploaded in process. We should please wait a bit, and you can see it translated that into Chinese, and then you can play the audio file and then you listen to it in Chinese. So that's the project that you're going to build. Is very simple but straightforward. You're going to be using optical character recognition. So let's go over the library that you're going to use for this video. So the first thing you're going to use, let me just go over here. So you can see it's actually running on my local server, right? I'm actually printing out some text here, and you can see all of that working there. So let me just go ahead and stop this development for now and just clear the terminal. So great. Let me just go over the library that we need to get set up to make this work. So we're going to be using Tessaract. So Tessaract is a library that is used for optical character recognition, and if you watch my video on introduction to optical character recognition using Python, then we went over Tessaract and how to install Tessaract. So you need to go and have Tessaract installed. So if you haven't watched that video on how to get Tessaract on your machine, just take a time. The link will be in the description, or I might keep a card up here. So just go ahead and watch that video on how to set up Tessaract on your machine. You need to have Tessaract installed for this to work. We're also going to be using OpenCv. So OpenCv stands for Open Computer Vision, and you're going to be using it to do with some image processing. Okay. You're going to be using NumPy, and NumPy stands for numeric Python, so you're going to be using NumPy for some activities in the background. And OpenCv also uses Python in the background, I believe, so we also need to have NumPy installed. And you're going to be using also PyTessaract. So PyTessaract is built to work with for you to interact with Tessaract in Python. Then you need the PyTessaract library. So PyTessaract is just a Python way of interacting with the PyTessaract. Okay. We will also be using Flask drop zone. Well, Flask drop zone is what enables us to drop wherever I was dragging and dropping images. So we're going to be using Flask drop zone for that functionality. We're also going to be using the very famous library Pylo. So Pylo is an image processing library in Python, and you have worked with Pylo in my computer introduction computer vision series. So if you haven't checked those, go back and watch those videos. You're also going to be using Swift Alert. You know, I was getting this alerts of file being uploaded and please wait and all that. I'm using Swift Alert for that. So we're going to go over and cover Swift Alert as well. So and then we'll be using Bootstrap, because I'm actually bad in writing styles and other stuff. So we're using Bootstrap for all of these, and carousels and other stuff like that. So we'll also be using the gTTS library, which is the Google text to speech library, which you're going to be using to generate the audio files. Remember, whenever I drop an image, it gets the does optical character recognition takes place, and then there is a section whereby there is the audio file, right, which is just a translation of what you have just done, which is under there. So if you drop a file in Chinese, then it gets translated to Chinese, then the audio file will also be in Chinese, right? So it will be speaking Chinese, and I'm going to add the video the audio later on so you guys can listen to it. So I'm going to be using gTTS for that, Google text to speech library, and also be using Flask form for different purposes. Remember, if what the form containing the text, right? Yeah, we'll be using Flask form for that. We'll be using Flask WT forms for that. Yeah, so let's get started and make sure that we set up everything that we need. And the repository is going to be on GitHub. The link is going to be in the description below. So the first thing we need to do is set up the Python environment and make sure that we have the basic requirements already installed. So let's get to it and have this install done. So there are many installations. I might talk about some of the libraries, but probably I may skip some of the libraries. So make sure that you also have Google Trans. Okay, I also forgot one more library, which is Google Trans, which you're going to use to be doing the translation from one language into the other. So my bad, I forgot. This is very, very important that you also have Google Trans installed. So I might not go over all the libraries that we need, but they're all in the requirement.txt file. So make sure that you go in there and then get the requirement.txt file and install it using the requirement.txt file, because this will help you to avoid any character any version conflicts and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get started and let's make this work. Okay, so let me just go into my terminal right here, and let me go in here. So I'm on my desktop right now, and on my desktop what I want to do, I want to make a directory called OCR underscore Flask. Let me just call it OCR underscore Flask, which is optical character recognition underscore Flask. So I'm going to change directory into my OCR Flask. Sorry, this is a change directory OCR underscore Flask, and I'm going to change my directory in there. So once I'm inside this directory, I'm going to create a Python virtual environment. And to create a Python virtual environment, the process of doing this is different from one operating system to the other. So if you're on Windows, the commands might be a bit different. So make sure that you just Google how to create a virtual Python environment in for Windows or based on your operating system. But the commands that I'm going to use in this video will work for Linux and MacBook. But if you're on Windows, the commands are different, so make sure that you do your research on that. And if you don't want to install these libraries inside of your virtual environment, then feel free to install them in your global Python environment. But it's not a good practice to do that, so I advise you to go and install this in a virtual environment. So let's go ahead and create a virtual environment. So I'm going to say Python 3 on Windows is just Python and then -m venv and then venv. So I'm going to simply call my virtual environment venv. So this is going to take some time, and it's going to create the virtual environment. And once it's done, if you do an ls on Windows, in your case it will be dir, you will see a virtual a folder called venv there. So that's our virtual environment. So now that we have the virtual environment created, we need to activate it. And again, this command I'm going to use is going to work for Linux and MacBooks, but if you're on Windows, the command is different. So just Google that, is quite easy. So I'm going to do source venv/bin/activate, and this is going to go ahead and activate my virtual environment. Once I have my virtual environment activated, I can simply go ahead and install those libraries that we need, right? So let me just go to my GitHub page and let me take a look at the project structure so that we can imitate that. So we need to create a folder called application, and then we need to create run.py and also have requirements.txt. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me just go ahead and create that. So I'm just let me say mk. I'm going to application, create a folder, and then I'm going to create a file. I'm going to use the touch command. I'm going to say run.py. So once I have that, I'm also going to go ahead and create a requirements. So requirements.txt file. Go requirement.txt file, and once I have that, you can see I have the folder, the application. I also have the venv, and then the requirements.txt, and then run.py. So once I have those three things done, I can simply go ahead and open this in Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to open up this in a Visual Studio Code, and feel free to use any editor that you are comfortable using. I'm just comfortable using VS Code, and most people they use VS Code, so you probably have VS Code. If you don't, feel free to use Sublime, PyCharm, and whatever you are comfortable using. So I'm going to go ahead and copy my requirements and paste it inside of my file right here. So I'm going to go into my GitHub page, and you can find this link in the description. So I'm going to copy all of this, and then go into my requirement.txt file, go into VS Code and paste that there. So let me just go ahead and install all those libraries. So I'm just going to clear the terminal and then do Python 3 -r, but let me just say Python 3 install -r, and then requirements.txt, So once I have that, I'm simply going okay, it says that okay, sorry, my bad, this is actually pip3 rather, so my bad for that. So this actually pip3 install my yeah. So that's the command, and pip3 install that specific libraries inside of the requirement.txt file. So my bad for writing Python 3, just an error. So this will take some time, and it's going to go ahead and install all the necessary libraries and tools that we need for this to work. And also, very importantly, go ahead and install Tessaract, or else this won't work for you. So make sure that you have Tessaract installed on your machine. Again, if you need any assistance on how to get Tessaract installed, check out my video on introduction to optical character recognition. So once you have all this, I can just go ahead and close all of this, because my system is not really powerful when dealing with video recording. So let me just close some of these windows so that everything goes a bit faster. So yeah, so let me just close I can close this for now since we don't need it. So yeah, this should go ahead and install all the libraries that we need. So it has went ahead and installed all the libraries that we need, and make sure that your virtual environment is activated before going ahead and installing all those libraries. So I'm just going to clear this for now. So once I have this done, I can simply do an ls, and again you can see everything is expected. Let's go into my VS Code, and in my VS Code, let's go ahead and do the basic setup. You're just going to build the index page, and then the next tutorial will deal with image uploading and decoding and doing all of the optical character recognition. So let's go ahead and actually do that. So I'm going to create I'm going to go ahead and create a folder I'm going to create a file rather, my bad. I'm going to create an __ init file. So this is going to be where we're going to keep all our instantiations and stuff like that. So I'm going to create __ init make sure I get the spelling right. Init ___.py. So this is a dunder file, right? So once I have that dunder file created, I also want to create another file. This is going to be called routes.py. Once I have routes.py created, yeah, that's all I need for now. We'll come back and also create other things later. But also I want to create a template. Sorry, this is going to be a folder rather, my bad. So create a folder here called templates. And this we are going to be using keeping all our templates, because we're going to be using template inheritance. And also let's go ahead and create another file called folder called static. We are going to keep all our static files such as images and JavaScript files, in case you have. In this case, we won't use any JavaScript file, but this way we are going to keep all your static files like images. So once we have the templates folder created, I want to create another folder, and this is going to be called static. And you can just guess by the name of the file. This we are going to keep all our static files such as images, JS files, and other content like that. But in this video, we're not going to have a JS file. But in case you maybe want to advance this project a bit and you need a JS file, then you probably keep it in your static file. But for now, we're just going to use our static file to keep a bunch of images. So let me just go ahead and create another folder instead of my static file called images. So images, as we're going to keep our images for making the loaders. Okay, I close that window. Where to keep those loaders. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually get started. So I'm going to go into my init file, and then in my init file I'm going to do the following. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to import Flask and then create an object of the Flask. So I'm going to say from Flask import Flask. And then I'm going to create an app which is going to be Flask, and then this is going to be __ name, I think. Yeah, __ name, exactly. So once I have that, one important thing I also need to import is, since you're going to be using this project structure that you are using, I need to go down here and do some import. This is from application. I'm going to import routes.py. So I'm going to import routes from our application. This is has something to do with some sort of circular imports. So I'm not going to go into depth explaining this, since this is not more of a Flask video, but more of integrating character recognition into the web, right? So I'm not going to go ahead and explain, well, what is that, but just know that is used to avoid some circular imports, and if you don't import it, then you have issues. Okay, so now we have this to deal with the circular imports on this line right here. Let's go ahead into our routes.py file, and then we're going to say from application, we're going to import sorry, it's going to be from application. Yeah, from application we are going to go ahead and import app. Okay, so from this application right here, which is our application folder, we have __init __.py file, and this file we are going to use this file to upload to set up our instance of the Flask app, and then deal with the circular imports. And then from our routes file, we are simply going to go ahead and import the app instance from this app into the routes app. Okay, so once we have that done, we can go ahead and get started. So what I want to do, I also create a simple index that returns just the front page of our application. So I'm going to say I'm going to use a decorator app.route. So I'm going to say at app.route, and if you don't know what a decorator is, I have a whole tutorial on my YouTube channel going in depth about what a tutorial is, what a decorator is. A decorator is basically a function that takes in another function as an input, right? A callable that takes in a callable as an input. So we're going to have this route function be index, and what this is simply going to do is simply going to go ahead and return render underscore template. So where is this render template coming from? And we need to go ahead and specify that, and this is coming from Flask. We need to go up here and import that. So we're going to say from Flask import render underscore template, just like that. So once we have this imported from Flask, we have imported render template. You can simply go ahead and use it here. So this expects us to pass in a couple of arguments. So the first thing we need to pass in is a template that we want to work with. So I'm going to simply say index.html file. So we're going to be working with the index.html. We are referring to a file called index. Okay, let me get the spelling right. So index.html. So we need to go into our templates folder and create that file. Okay, so Flask knows automatically to look for HTML files instead of the templates folder, so make sure to name it templates exactly, all lowercase, okay, or else we'll get an error. So let's create an index.html file in here. So I also want to use template inheritance, so I'm going to create another template called layout, and the layout is going to consist of all the basic layout. So I'm going to call it layout.html, and this is what is going to consist all the basic layout, and that other template can inherit. So the index template is going to inherit from the layout template. So in the layout template, just create a simple HTML tag right there, template. So to do that is very simple. You just have to press the exclamation key on your keyboard and simply press enter. If you don't have this in your editor, you can just go to Google and search for the basic HTML template and simply copy that. So once we have that done, what I simply want to do right now is simply go into in here, and I'm going to use a Jinja 2 templating engine. So if you know what Jinja 2 is, it's just a templating engine that is used by most Python frameworks, including Django and Flask. So that's what we're going to be using for this project. So now let's go ahead and see how it works. Again, this project is not if you don't know like basics of Flask, I have a whole tutorial explain the basics of Flask on my YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out. But in this tutorial, I'm not going to go explain the little details of what Flask is and what the template inheritance and all this Jinja 2 templating is. So I'm just going to say if title means you're going to expect the template to pass in a title. I'm just going to explain to you this in a second. So if so you have an if block there, and then you have to simply end if right here, and then in between there I want to have an else. So here and I want to have an else. Great. So once I have this, I want to simply copy this. So I'm going to simply copy this from here and then simply paste it in here and paste it in here. So let me just indent that. So in case we have the title, what I want to do is I want to say I want to do title, and then let's say we want to do ORC, which is optical character recognition, and then hyphen, and then that specific title, right? That's what I want. In case the user provide a title. In case the user doesn't have a title, we just have to say OCR, just like that. So in case there's a title, we are going to pass in the OCR, and then colon certain hyphen there, and then the title. Okay, else you're just going to say OCR. Now how do we pass in a title? So we can go back into our route function here, and then simply say title equals to, let's say, home page, right? So if a person passing the title here, this title is going to be red in the side of this template. It's going to be red, and is going to be used. Okay, so once I have that done, I'm going to be using Bootstrap for this project. So let me go ahead and get this basic Bootstrap template. So I'm just going to go into my website and then search for Bootstrap. So Bootstrap and then get started. So click on getting started, and then you have to copy this CDN. So CDN stands for Content Delivery Network, meaning that you don't have to install Bootstrap in order to use Bootstrap. Okay, you can just use the CDN and work with it. It will be delivered through through the online means. So once we have it, I also want to go ahead and copy this and also go ahead and paste it at the bottom here, paste that right there. So once I have this two done, I'm also going to be using switch alerts for alerting. So let me just go ahead and also get the template for switch alert and paste that here. So this is a CDN for switch alerts, and I'm simply going to copy it and simply go ahead and paste it here. Okay, just above this, so paste it here. So I'm just comment this and say Bootstrap, and then this is going to be switch alert. Okay, you're going to be using that for our alerting system. So once we have that those two done, I'm also going to be using a Google font for the styling of our font. So you can just go to my website here. I did a Google fonts here, so you can just go to the website, on my GitHub page rather. So if you go on my GitHub page, you can just find that link to the font. Else you can go ahead and actually make your own font, and you use your own font if you feel like that's what you want to do. But I'm just going to copy it from here, since I don't want to go to the process of creating that link again. So once I have that, I can simply go ahead and simply paste it in here. So paste it there, and then let me fix that indentation. Yeah, so that's how I want it. And now that I have it, I can also put a comment here, say Bootstrap CSS CDN or something. So okay, just keep any helpful comment that you want there. So once I have that done, I'm going to use template inheritance at this point. So I want to use Bootstrap to create a container. So once I have a container, inside of the container I want a row. Inside of the row I want a call -md -1, okay, there. instead of this then I can make another column right here. So copy that and then paste it here and paste it again. So I want the middle column to be 10 rows, 10 columns. The middle should be 10 and the outside one should be 1 and 1, because the maximum you can get in Bootstrap is 12 columns. So once I have that, inside of there I want to now keep the template inheritance content. So I want to say block, this is going to be, let me get the spelling right, so this is going to be block content, and then what I want to simply do is actually end that block content right here. So end block. End block, you can also say end block content. That will also work, but I'm just going to say end block. So once I have this done, that's all I need to do to set up the basic HTML. Okay, so I can simply inherit this template, but before I want to do that, I also want the navigation bar to be inherited by each of my templates. So I'm just going to go ahead. I got a Bootstrap navigation bar. So let me just go to Bootstrap and show you what I mean. So let me just type here nav bar. So let me just click on this. So choose this, and this is going to give you a lot of navigation bar that you can use. So I copy one of these, I copied this exact code and modified it to my needs. Okay, so I'm simply going to go ahead and paste it. The link to this is in the description below. So this is just a Bootstrap navigation bar, nothing complicated. So once I have this Bootstrap navigation bar, I can just go ahead and yeah, that's all I need to do. So I need to first inherit this template before we can see these changes. So let me just go into my index, and in my index, what I'm simply going to do is inherit that template. And to inherit the template is very simple to do. So what I'm simply going to do in here, I just pass in a code block just like this, and then I'm saying extends, and then the name of the file, which is layout.html, and this could be the path to the file in case they're not in the same directory, right? So once we have that, I can also go ahead and just open another block content, and then we say block content, and this whatever. And once you open block content, let's first end block content and I'll explain to you what I wanted to say. So I'm going to say end block this way. So once I have that, whatever content that is going to be in between this div tag, this is going to override it. So whatever content we keep in here will be placed in here at the pass of at the time of inheriting that template. So great. So once I have that, what I simply want to do is, yeah, that's all I want to do. So I can just return a h2 tag here and just say hello world, this is index page. Yeah. So once I have that, that's all I need. So I can simply go ahead, save this, and then I can go into my into my terminal. Let me just check where I am. So I can do Python 3 and then run.py and then run that server. It didn't actually run anything. Yeah, it didn't actually run anything because I made an error. I forgot one important step. So we're going to be using this file to run our application. So we need to import the app instance that we have in __init, and then we can run our application from there. So let me just go into run.py. I'm going to say from application, we're going to import app, and then we'll say if underscore name equals to quotes _ main _ what I'm simply going to do, I'm going to say app dot run, and then I'm going to say debug equals to true for debugging. Okay, but when you're deploying this to production, make sure the debug mode is false, but for now I'm just going to leave debug mode to be true. So once I've done that, I can simply run this code again. So we have an error. So from Flask import Flask, it says no module named as Flask. Okay, so let me just clear this terminal and then just let me just deactivate my environment. So deactivate, I think I'm using the wrong environment. So let me just run ls, and then I can say source vnv/bin /activate. So I can just simply run the code again. So just run this. So I have no module Flask. Let me just do a pip install Flask. So it looks like I did not install Flask properly, so make sure that you have Flask installed. Okay, so once it's installed, we can just go ahead and run this code again. So now we can see our development server is started at localhost at port 5000. So I can simply click on this, and instead at the loopback interface, which is the local host, right? So you can see we're getting hello world, this is index page, and you can see this is index page is coming from the index.html file. So it's inheriting everything else, and it's only overriding the content that is going to be between this block content right here. So it's going to override the block content. The content of this block content is going to be placed in here, so all the navigation bar and everything else we placed still remains. So yeah, that's how template inheritance in Flask work. Just a quick demonstration. So now that we have this, let's go ahead and actually write the code to make our home page look good. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to have a div, right, where you're going to write some content. So I'm just going to let me just give a bit of spacing. I'm going to have a div, and I'm going to have a class of dflex. So dflex hyphen d hyphen flex. So yeah, so I want to justify the content to center this content. So I'm going to say justify content hyphen center. So this is going to justify the content and place at the center. So I'm going to use margin top of, I'm going to give a margin top of 4. So those are just some bootstrap classes. So I'm going to, in here, I'm going to have a h3 tag, and this h3 tag, I'm going to give it a bit of styling. I'm just going to use my own styling since I don't want to make this complicated by creating a CSS file and all. Just keep things a bit simple. So I'm going to say font family, and my font family is going to be is going to be the font that you have just imported, right? The Google font that you have link that you have just placed in here. So I'm just going to go into my index and then say it's going to be, let me just get that, it's going to be lobster lobster comma and then cursive, right? Cursive, just like this. So I'm going to say lobster and then cursive. So that is going to now have the font that you're going to use. And in here I'm just going to say optical character recognition to, let me say anything that you want to text and audio. This is not the best title, but choose whatever title you want. So let me just go in here and try to refresh my page again, and now I have that right there. So now that I have that, what I simply want to do now, I want to have another div block where I keep in some content as well. So I'm just going to have another div block, another div, and it's going to have a div flex. So I'm going to say d flex, and in here what I want to do, I want to justify the content and place it at the center. So justify content center, and then margin top is going to be 4, and then align items is going to be center, just like this. So instead of this div, I'm going to have another div content in here, and then this is going to have a class of call md hyphen 4, and then I'm going to write in the height. So I'm going to say height, this is going to be height, so I'm going to say height, and the height is going to be let me just say height is going to be 100 view height. Okay, and then in here I'm going to have another h3 tag, and then this h3 tag is going to have the following. So I'm just going to say convert images to audio files and text files. Okay, text files, I can say all for free, as if they're just speaking as if that you have deployed the website for use, right? But that's not the case. So in here, we're going to have a class, and the class is going to be align hyphen middle. So it's going to align the content at the exact middle. So once you have that, let me just check how that looks. So I'm going to refresh this, and we have that. So it's not properly well centered as I want. So we justify the content center, and then we have margin top of 4, and then align item center. Yeah, so we have set a call md of 4, and then height is 100 view spot, and then aligning in the middle, and then that's the text. Yeah, that's all I need to do. So I also need to provide in the styling to this text. So I'm going to say providing a bit of styling here, and I'm going to say font family, and the font family is going to be lobster, just like we have, and then cursive. Yeah, that's all I want to do. And then I also want to say text align, and this is going to be center. So I'm going to align the text at the center, and I can go back here and refresh this. So we have this right here. So that's what we have. So now I want to go ahead and actually create the place where I have the images and there are some text next to each other side by side. So what I want to do right now, I have the text already, so I'm going to now create the image section. So what I'm going to do here, I create another div, and then I'm going to build that div here. So I'm going to simply say instead of the main div here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to have another div inside of this one, and this div is going to be it's going to have a class. Let me just say a class of call md-8, right? So let me say 8. The reason I'm saying 8 is because the 4 here, let me just give a bit of spacing. So the 4 here plus the 8 here makes it a 12, right? So once we have the 4 and the 8 mixing a 12, and the bootstrap columns can be a maximum of 12, right? So in here I'm going to have a bootstrap carousel. So I'm just going to go ahead and get that carousel from GitHub. So I'm just going to go here and then search for that carousel. So I'm going to say carousels and then click on that. So this is going to give me a bunch of carousels that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go down here. I want this specific carousel, so I'm going to copy that, go in here, and then simply paste the code right here. Yeah, so that's all we need to do. And now we need to specify where we are going to get the images from. So we need to place the images in our static folder, and I have a folder called images where we're going to place our images. So let's go ahead and get those images. So I have some bunch of images that I have used, so I'm just going to copy this, and you can find these images in the description, right? In the GitHub link, which is going to be in the description. Let me just go in here, and then I'm going to go into application, which is current, and then go into static, and then images, and then paste those 3 images right here. So once I have that, I can simply see the images right here. So I'm going to refer to those images here. So to refer to these images, I'm going to be using a URL for. So I'm going to go ahead and import URL for from my route. So I'm going to say from Flask we imported render template. I'm going to say URL underscore 4. So once I have those 2 done, I'm going to go back into my my file here. So let me just go into my index here, and then I'm going to say URL underscore 4. And then this is a function, so the first argument is a folder in which the static file is found. So I'm going to say static, and then inside of a static file, what I'm going to have there, I'm going to provide in the file name. So file name, and the file name is going to be the following. So the file name is going to be images, is the images /, and I can say image -0 underscore 03.jp. Let me get the spelling right. .jpg. So image3.jpg, which is this image right here. Yeah, so that's all I need to do. And then the alternate, you can also change this if you want. So I'm just going to go ahead, copy this, and then change the image right here. So I'm going to copy this and simply paste it here, and this will be image let me just say image let's just be image 1, and then in here we can have the image 2. Okay, so this is gonna be image 2, and image 2 is also a image 2 is a png. So let's change this to be png. Yeah, so once we have that done, we can go ahead and refresh this. So let's go to my other website here, and let's try to refresh this and see what we get. So we get an error right there. So let me just close this for now and run the code again. Yeah, so now everything is running. Sometimes you have to start the server manually. So you can see that image scroller works there fine, but you can see the images have different heights, so this carousel continuously changes height. So let's go ahead and fix that. So all you can do is just give it a height and then give it all a default height. So let me just go in here, and then I can specify here. I can say the height, and the height, let's say, is 400 pixels. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this and replace it for all the other, paste it on all the other parts. So I'm going to paste it here. You can do this in a CSS, but as I said, I'm not really a CSS person. So yeah, once I paste it there, I'm going to go in here and try to refresh this again. Now if I try to change the images, they should all have the same height right here. So great. So now what I want to do is to create the 2 buttons that are going to be here, that the users can go into, the users can click on and then get to direct to the place where they can upload their images and then get the character recognition thing done. And then yeah, so what I'm simply going to do in here, I'm going to go ahead below in here, below this. I'm going to minimize this. So in here I'm going to have another div, and it's going to have a div flex. Let me just press that. So dflex, we're going to justify the content center. So I'm going to say justify content center, and then margin top, or I'm going to be margin top of 4. So once I have that, I'm going to have an a tag in here, and this is going for now going to point nowhere, and this is going to have later I'm going to point in the URL where this is going to point to, but for now we can just leave that since we don't have those routes. So I'm just going to say btn hyphen we can say btn outline hyphen success, and then we can just say margin of we can use the margin 2, and then in here we can just say image to text, just like that. So I'm simply going to copy this and paste it here. So this is going to be success, and this one is going to be danger, so it's going to be a red button, and this is going to be to audio. Okay, let's say audio, just like that. So I'm going to save this and then try to refresh this front page again. Let's see if you have those two buttons. So those two buttons are not actually showing, so let's maybe I made it. Okay, so this is btn, my bad, and then btn here. Yeah, so now let's try to refresh again once I got those bootstrap classes correct. So you can see we have those two buttons right here. So yeah, that's all I wanted us to do in this tutorial. So in the next tutorial we'll deal with the uploading of the image getting decoded, and then the text, the image, the text being converted into audio file and stuff like that. We'll do that in the next tutorial. So guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this so far, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this. So see you in the next one. Keep safe.